Why is it that every single time we try to break out of the position we are in life right now, we always end up having actually quite a bit of success and then followed by shit results the next week, just to come right back down to the baseline version of ourselves and never actually break out of the cycle of elevating our actual standard for ourselves? Why is it that we try to chase for more revenue in our business just to get shitty revenue the next week and stay at the same level of production that we've always been at for ever since we started? Why is it that we try to go for a personal record in sales just to do shit the next day and do the same thing? Why is it that we go to the gym and we break to a new body fat percentage level, new strength level, just to come right back down to the level that we've always been at? And it's like, yes, from an external perspective, you can call this laziness, lack of discipline, that you just got to work harder and do more. And yes, it's really easy to say that, and that might actually be true. But the reality is it's actually just a byproduct of what needs to happen internally. So what if I told you that the answer is not really, look, dude, just be disciplined, be consistent, work harder, fuck your feelings, blah, 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 blah. It's actually a lot more simple than you would think. And so first off, my name is Jack Beatson. I am a world champion ice cross racer. So I do a sport called ice cross. I race downhill on a pair of ice skates. I've been doing it for 5 years now. I just finished up my 5th season. In 1 year, I've gone from junior world champion to the best in the world. And I attribute it to mindset. Not mental toughness, not mental fortitude, literal mindset, and a bunch of psychological principles, because I'm really, really curious about how the mind works and how we operate. And I use all of these principles to become the best in the world about something that I'm really deep down passionate about. And so I want to share this with you guys because it's really important, because I was where you were. I was stuck in that cycle of constantly getting slightly above average results relative to my environment. I still, I'm a high achiever, super ambitious. I still had a bunch of people, looking up to me. So everything looked good externally, right? And if I just continued where I was at, everything would be fine. But the reality is it was just another way to make myself comfortable. And it kept me really, really stuck because, yes, I was doing fine in the position, but deep down, I knew I was capable of a lot more. And no matter how much I did, I just couldn't seem to close in on that gap. And so what it's going to be is it's basically, I would guarantee you that you're probably living your life completely on a conscious level of awareness. What do I mean by this? Your mind has 2 levels of awareness. We have conscious and unconscious. Your conscious is everything within your current awareness right now. Everything that you have access to right now in your brain is a conscious level of awareness. Now, your conscious mind has limited capacity. It means it can only focus on one thing at a time, and it's responsible for logic and, decision making and all sorts of that stuff, right? Now, your subconscious part of your brain is going to have a maximum capacity. It filters millions of bits of information a second, and it filters in reality through something called your RAS that lets you perceive reality the way you do based off of who you are. Now, your subconscious mind is completely under your level of awareness, but it's actually responsible for all of your autopilot thoughts, your autopilot beliefs, your autopilot habits. And because your subconscious makes up 95% of the entire process of you, then it's responsible for 95% of the results you get in your life, because your identity, your full identity, is what tells you how effective you can put inputs and how effective you do those inputs based off of how much your identity will let you. That's what dictates your results in your life. So it's not necessarily just inputs, it's actually your identity which controls the inputs, which then gets the outputs. But if you live your life on a conscious level, you only have 5%. You're only solving 5% of the equation. You can be the smartest person in the world logically, right? And you only have 5% of the equation. And somebody who understands this stuff will get way better results way more effectively in way quicker amount of time without all the hassle of being stuck in this gap, you know? And it's just because they understand this stuff. So in order to change your subconscious part of you, your subconscious baseline, because that is what actually gets results in your life, we have to impress it. And so look, your subconscious is responsible for the baseline version of you, right? All your thoughts, all your habits, your autopilot version of you, fight or flight, controls your heart. It controls your breathing. It controls everything that you don't think about on a current level of awareness. And so what we need to do is we need to figure out how to change this baseline version of ourselves subconsciously so that we can actually get not only good results, but not contradict all of that, fall back to baseline, go back to average, and we can actually raise ourselves in a way to where we don't fall back to where we were. And so the way that I want to talk about this is I want to go over a concept, and it's called, you don't rise to your highest standards, you fall to your lowest habits. And so what does that mean? That means that no matter how hard that we try to get better at the things we're already better at and do more and get really good at that one specific thing, if we have contradiction, if we have lack in anywhere in our life, then it's just going to bring us back. We're going to progress downwards as much as we progress upwards. And then this baseline version of ourselves never actually moves up. And this baseline is what gets the results, not just a bunch of little sprints towards one specific thing while sacrificing all the other parts of your identity along the way. So now, yes, you need to sacrifice a ton of shit in your life. You need to sacrifice every single part of your old identity that you don't want to be associated with anymore. You have to sacrifice actually all of that. And that's already difficult within itself. But really what you cannot sacrifice is every pillar of your life that you choose to associate with. And so for me, right, those pillars are going to be faith. They're going to be myself, you know, my mind, my body, making sure I'm healthy, going to the gym, relationships, and then it's also going to be wealth, right? So if I've sacrificed in any of those 4 pillars, it creates contradiction and lack, and then that baseline version of me never moves. And the reason why is because every single thing connects in your life. How you do one thing is literally how you do everything. And the most successful people realize this. That's why they're extremists in every single thing that they do. That's why literally it doesn't matter what they're doing. If they're brushing their teeth, if they're making fucking eggs, if they're just in the gym, right? Everything they do, they give it their full attention, they give it their full focus, and they do it to the best of their ability. Because if you half-ass one thing in your life, subconsciously it creates a habit of being a half-ass, which causes you to be a half-ass in your relationships, causes you to be a half-ass in, you know, your self. It causes you to be a half-ass in your business, which then what does that do? It creates enough half-ass habits to where it reinforces a half-ass identity. And then because you're a half-ass identity, you have half-ass inputs, which gets you what? Half-ass results in your life. So you have to flow in one direction. What do I mean by this? If you go to the gym and then you eat like shit, as much as you go up, you also go down, and this baseline never moves. So you want to be able to go to the gym and also eat healthy so you stay there. And so, like, yes, it's a very small example, but the thing is, if you, for example, right, if you get in an Uber and the Uber knows you're going to a specific place, but then you go off and you tell them that you also want to go to this place and that place and that place and that place, and you contradict where you're trying to go, then what the fuck is the Uber driver going to do? He's going to sit there and not do anything until you make up your mind. You're not going to move anywhere. And if anything, it's just going to waste you time. That's why the thing is, when you have contradiction in your life and you're not moving the baseline up, you're just stuck in the middle. You're stuck on the fence, and the fence just moves down anyway, because you're just wasting time where you could be getting better. And so every single thing you do has to connect and has to flow. That's why you have to do every single thing to the best of your ability. Otherwise, you're just going to blue ball yourself from your goals for the rest of your life. And I promise you, that is not something you want to do. It's just not fucking worth it to go through that when you don't fucking have to. If you could just realize that you have to do every single thing to the best of your ability, and you can't have any contradiction in your life. So in order to raise the baseline version of ourselves, we have to become the minimum viable version that is capable of hitting our goals. So in order to do this, we need to find out the pillars of our life, find out what actually matters to us. And then we have to pick one specific task that caters towards that every day. That way we don't contradict that part of our life that's important to us. So our baseline constantly goes up and moves forward every single day, right? So contradiction wise, right? You can't say you're going to do something and not do it. You can't believe in yourself and then be afraid. You can't say you're grateful and then be anxious, right? You can't work on your business and spend all your time that you want on your business and then at the same time not be there for the people that you care about, eat like shit, not care for yourself and your mind and your body, and then also not spend time with your faith. Because the thing is, that's contradiction too, right? Because everything all connects, you can't compartmentalize anything, because all that's going to do is contradict you, and you're not going to have that internal alignment and fulfillment that you actually are looking for in your life. Now, how many people do we see in this life that literally are rich as fuck? They have a crazy ass business, but they have a shit body. They have no health whatsoever. They don't work out. They eat like shit. They spend their time with a girlfriend that doesn't even give a fuck about them, just uses them for their money. And then they are the least faithful person on the planet. Like, there's so many people like that, and it's like, you have to pretty much be a psychopath. You can't just want one thing, because what happens when you want one thing, you don't actually get that fulfillment that you know you deep down desire at the end of the day. You have to want it all. You have to want everything. And I'm not saying that you have to put an equal effort towards all pillars of your life. No, that's not what you do. You actually want to focus. Like, I guarantee your focus is money right now. If your focus is wealth, if that's one of the pillars of your life, focus on that. Do that. Get really good at that. But still make sure you're doing the minimum thing for your faith, for yourself, and for your relationships that moves you forward there every day, so your baseline still goes up as much as you try to make more money. And so what does that look like, Would the highest version of yourself right now probably spend 15 minutes at least praying and reading the Bible every single day? Yeah, probably. Do you think he would go to the gym every day? Yes. Do you think he would eat healthy? Yes. Do you think he would check in on the people he actually cares about? Probably, right? So we have to, one, make sure we're doing the minimum things necessary to cater towards all the pillars of our life. That way we flow in one direction and we don't have any contradiction, no lack. But also, what we need to do is we need to set actual metrics. You can't get into Uber and tell them that you're going somewhere. No, you got to tell them an actual destination. So you have to set metrics for the pillars of your life. You have to know exactly how much money you want. You have to know how exactly you want your relationships to go. You need to know how strong you want to be, what body fat percentage you want to be. You need to know how far in your faith you want to be. If that's one of your pillars of your life, you need to know all these things, and you need to be looking at the highest version of yourself every day and operating and taking action from that person that's flowing in that direction with no lack in order to actually get to where you want to get to. And so really the key takeaways from this is that, one, you need to find the minimum viable version of yourselves, figure out whatever that is. Two, you need to identify any contradiction in your life. Where in your life are you contradicting where you want to go? You'll be able to figure all those things out. I want you to write them down on a piece of paper and take a good look at it and just change it. And so look, the last thing is just do things to the best of your ability. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. You literally don't want to have any lack in your life. It is not worth it, I promise you. If you guys like this video, definitely like and subscribe. One thing to note is that this is just simply consciously changing your habits in order to impress on your subconscious baseline in order to actually get to the results that you want to get. Now, the thing is, we want to actually make this subconscious part of us on autopilot. We want to make all these habits autopilot for us. And so in order to do that, we actually have to go through an identity rewiring process. If our identity doesn't change, then ultimately our results aren't going to change in our life. Now, how you do that is you rewire your identity. So if you want the missing piece of this, I did just make a free video on all of this. It's in the description. Check it out, watch it. What I go over is I go over how to fully rewire your identity. So starting from your perception, changing all of your beliefs to filter in reality in a different 5% that you witness it at. That way you obviously get different results. And then also we go over how to manage your emotions. Your thoughts and emotions create in your life. So we go over how your emotions work, how to use them to create, and how to have control over them and not let anything control you. And then we also go over how to be actually present and how to enter flow state, because the present moment is literally all we have. Nothing has ever been done outside of right now. And then we go over how to take aligned action to actually make sure that we can consistently do this, and that, you know, we also don't get stuck in the trap of running these conscious new habits to try and change the baseline version of ourselves, but then we just fall back to who we were anyway and get stuck all over again. So look, if you want to rewire your identity, just check the video out. It's in the description. It's not a pitch or anything. It's literally just free value to you guys. Check it out. Let me know what you got. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.